Hey, Catherine, Jessica from Peterson SEO here in Chico. Thank you so much for speaking with me earlier and requesting this free video. So today we're going to go over 3 tips that you guys can start applying right away that is going to help you online and to get more of those leads coming to you each month. So we're going to go over content, citations, and backlinks. All right. And before we get on to content, we're actually going to start um, with your customer's journey. So sorry about that. Your customers, when they need your services, majority of the time, they don't even know who you are yet. They don't know your name. They don't know your brand. So they are going to be searching local keywords for their services. And so it's critical that your business be showing up when they search for you. Now, there are 3 different sections on the first page of Google that any business can own positioning in. Okay, the first is your ads. Those are your cost per click ads, like these, as well as local service ads. But only about 10% of people actually click through to those ads. So the more important areas are below. The first being the Google Map pack here. And let's just go over to Rio Linda here, where you guys are. All right, so you are in the top 3, which is great. And that is the goal. You want to be in the top 3 for all of your services and all those major keywords, because 30% of people will skip everything else and come right here. So if you're not in this top 3, you're sending all of those leads to your competition and leaving tons of money on the table. Now, there are several factors that go into ranking in the top 3 and being able to maintain this position, because it's a very fluid, continually changes. You can't just set it and forget it. You have to be optimizing this monthly. But the number one factor is something called citations. And citations are like directory listings. So basically, you're putting your name, address, phone number, and website in a bunch of directories like Yellow Pages, Glassdoor, the Better Business Bureau, and even your social media profiles. You need a lot of those, and you need more than your competition. Um, you need them in a bunch of directories because it sends signals to Google from all over about who you are, what you're about, gives you authority, and helps Google to want to promote you and your website and bring you customers. So the more of those you have, the better. Typically, the people in the top 3 generally have about 150. So you want to make sure that you always have more than that. Um, one more thing I need to mention. Notice here that you guys don't have any categories listed, and this can also hurt you when people are searching. So you want to make sure, just like these guys have several categories that they're listing themselves in. These are just water damage, these have other services. So make sure you're optimizing this profile completely, including those categories. All right, now back to what I was doing. So the third section here is your organic section. This is by far the most important section in Google, because uh, 60 to 70% of people will skip anything else and come straight here. So when you're not listed here, again, you're leaving all those jobs to your competition. Now, how do you get here? Well, that all comes down to your website. Your website needs to be properly built and optimized um, for you to be able to rank. And that all comes down to content. So content is key. One of the most important things here. Okay. So I do like, you do have a good start to your website. I do like that you have click to call phone number. I know that you have a form at the bottom of your page, but it will actually serve you better up at the top and help with conversions. You need to make it as easy as possible for your customers. You need to have a separate page for every service that you offer. You can't just consolidate it onto one page. Google requires the separate pages so it can be focused on one service and that you can build your content around that service using those local buyer intent keywords, the ones that they're actually searching for your service. Now, your homepage is one of the most important pages and it should have a ton of content. And when I say content, it can be photos, it can be text, it can even be videos. Your photos need to be optimized. So let's look at this one. So this one says fire inside an abandoned covenant in Quebec, Canada. So this is definitely not optimized. I don't even know if I would use that image. It might be copyrighted. This one here just says stock photo. So you need to be optimizing these, putting your keywords in there. We need these keywords everywhere, in all of your images, and it needs to be throughout your content. Again, like I said, content is key. Google sends crawlers to your website, and the only way they know what you're about, the services you offer, and the type of customers to bring you is by this content. So it needs to be built out correctly. You need a lot of written content. You need about 1,500 words or more. And it needs to be built around those local keywords. You need 150 words for every keyword you're going to target. And keep in mind, there's multiple variations of the same type of keyword. So you might have Sacramento water damage restoration, Sacramento, and people search differently. So to capitalize on that, you really need to dial in your keyword strategy. So you just have a very limited amount of content here. So you definitely need a ton more content. You're always going to need more than your competitors. If your competitors have 1,500 words, you need 1,800. So just make sure you're working on this content and keyword strategy. This is going to be critical. And because you serve multiple service areas, you're not just in Rio Linda. You're in Sacramento and wherever else that you guys are serving. You need service area pages for each of those services as well, so that you can be found in each area you serve for all of your services. If we look at your top organic competitor, this is ServPro. ServPro, yes, is a franchise, but they are beatable. Okay, the franchises control everything. These guys cannot control their strategy, keyword marketing, keyword strategy, or anything. They get these generic websites that every single one of them have, and it just switches out their location and their names. And so you guys are at the advantage. You can dial in a strategy that can outrank and dominate. But you just have to make sure that you have more content, more images, more everything. So now if we come over here, this program tells us how your website is performing. We can see you have a rating of a 5 out of 100 in Google's Trust Flow, which means Google still does not quite trust your website. And that has a lot to do with both your website and the content of that website, but also the backlinks. Backlinks send power to your website. Backlinks are extremely important. You have to have more than your competition, but you don't want just any type of backlinks. This is a popularity contest. You need to have backlinks that are do follow, that are most related to your business, or at least being home service based type of links. You don't need links from fashion or food or grocery stores, right? You need things that are directly related to you. Otherwise, it's spammy and it actually hurts you. And having power on your website is going to boost you and boost your rankings. It is very important. So a backlink, well, let's start with referring domain. So referring domain is any website that provides your website a link from their site to your site. And the backlink is that physical link. So if you've ever been to a website page and you saw a blue hyperlink and you clicked on it and it took you somewhere, that's that backlink. If you think of your favorite power tool, okay, that power tool does not work without power. So you're going to plug that into your power source, which would be a referring domain. And that power source pushes power through that cord, which would be a backlink, to your tool, in this case, a website, giving it the power it needs to be able to run. So you need to have good quality power. Now, because of the lack of content, you've only been indexed for 36 keywords and you're only getting about 37 people to your website. If we actually look at your keywords, we can see actually you do have some, it's mostly just mold related. And those ones are, a couple of them are actually ranking. So you are actually ranking for a few of those despite not having the content. So that is definitely a plus. You definitely need to work on your content and keyword strategy so you can go after those big dollar water jobs, fire jobs, etc. So you definitely got to work on that because you're missing out on a ton of jobs each and every month. If we look at ServPro, we actually don't care how their website performs as a whole. We only care about the area you're competing against. And they don't have any backlinks or anything to this area. So all the traffic, everything they're getting is because the power of the website, their entire website has so much power that it's able to carry these keywords and bring traffic. And that's why I keep trying to reiterate how important those backlinks are. But these guys have been indexed for 39 and they're getting over 200 people to their website every single month. So you should be able to capture that same traffic. And if we look, they are ranking on the first page for a number of the big money keywords here. So it's going to be really, really, really important that you work on your citations, content, and backlink strategies. If you follow each of those tips I have provided you today, your website has the opportunity to rank high in Google and even dominate some of these areas. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We'd be glad to chat. Thanks a lot for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.